Welcome back. In this video, we're going to go over restricting in-house API access. I'm currently in the Inhouz Cloud console. To get into the in-house API module, all I need to do is click in our in-house API tab. The API we're going to be looking at today is our insurance API. If I click on the edit button, it takes me into the API module. So if I look at the endpoint, I notice that I have three endpoints: create plan, get plan, and get quotes. I've gone through the work of configuring this API, configuring a couple of functions, and deploying it to the development environments. If you would like to know how this API was developed, you can watch the in-house API video series to tell you to train you on all things in-house API. All right, so I have pulled up this API in our Postman testing tool. As you can see, I can basically create a plan using the create plan endpoints in our development environment, and I could go ahead and search and query our get plans endpoints, right? And if you notice, if you look at the headers, there are no headers and there is no authentication. The reason I'm able to query this API without any issues is because it is currently exposed to the public. So this means that anyone with our endpoints can basically query that endpoint if they know a thing or two about how to query said endpoints. There is no restriction to who can access this API endpoint. So in order to restrict access to our APIs, all we need to do is just toggle this off. Save and deploy. Now, what does this mean when we toggle off and make our API endpoint private? Let's just go ahead and deploy the current version to the development environment. Not that our API endpoint is private in the development environment. When we go back to Postman to test, we'll be met with a message that basically says not authorized private API. The reason why we're getting this message is because we have turned off the public access to this API endpoint. And in order to have access to this API endpoint, a user is going to have to be subscribed, granted access to this endpoint. And the way to get access to this endpoint is via subscription services in the in-house subscription management module. A user with access will get an API key, and that API key would need to be provided in the request headers as XAPI key along with the API key. I'm just going to type some gibberish here. And then when they ping, the system will authenticate that user's access, and they'll be able to access the resources of our API endpoints. All right, so this has been a quick video on how to restrict APIs. In the next coming videos, we are going to go take a deep dive into the subscription management module, how to restrict modules, how to grant access to APIs to internal and external users, how to monetize APIs, and everything in between. All right, that's it for this video. See you in the next ones.